Okay, so as you can see right down here is the sword that I originally been working on, and if you can look at it where I've heated it up in my forge outside and banged on with my hammer, I was able to stretch the tip out. None of that was cut, that was all stretched out and shaped that way. But it's terrible, it's dinging up my anvil, and I really can't, I'm denting up the metal, and it's really hard to shape, and it's because I can heat it up to cherry red, but I can't get it to orange. If I could get the steel to orange, I could make it soft, and that's the temperature that you can actually fold the steel over on itself, shrink it in size, expand it, and that. Right now I'm just beating the crud out of a big piece of metal. So I went back to the junkyard, got myself a whole leaf spring, which means it had 3 pieces to it. And I also discovered that instead of using a hacksaw, this is a $9.99 on sale Harbor Freight angle grinder. And this right here is a DeWalt cutting blade, and it actually says for metal and stainless steel. Well, this is pretty much stainless steel grade metal here, spring steel. So that has made a world of difference. For $10 plus the $7 for the 5-pack of cutting blades. And by the way, this is my first cutting blade, and I've cut a lot with it, and there's still plenty of it left. So those cutting blades are really tough. And so what I'm doing here is I was able to cut all of the spring steel pieces apart, and I took 2 parts that are close to the same length and size. And what I'm doing with one is I'm, with my vise, keeping it locked in. Oops, sorry. I'm keeping it locked in so I can take that grinder and cut the other piece in half. So I'm using the top of the other piece of steel wedged in the winch, or not the winch, the vise, to cut a smooth line across the top, because I'm freehanding it with this, so I'm using that as a guide. What I had to do is on this end I was cutting way too high because I wasn't keeping it level, this piece. So then I took my crescent pliers here, my locking pliers, and I locked the 2 pieces together. So from the vise to there is one solid piece now, and I can cut it, and then I'll switch sides and I'll lock down these 2 pieces. I'll push them together and cut that. So I'll cut that back piece in half, and when you cut it in half, it's about the perfect thickness and size as your standard samurai sword or ninja sword, and we'll continue from there. So I've decided it's better to cut and shape my sword out of a piece of steel, then heat it up and straighten it out, and then go to the trouble of quenching it and doing all that. So we'll get to that later. But again, with this steel, it's a lot easier to cut it into the shape you want than to try to blacksmith it into the shape you want, unless you have high-end furnace capabilities, which I do not have access to a forge hot enough to shape the steel properly. So I'm going to cut the leaf spring up, which, by the way, in the apocalypse, you'd probably be using a file and a hacksaw to cut these leaf springs into blades anyway, and then you could use a campfire to get it really hot and straighten the steel out using a flat piece of cement pavement and a hammer to flatten it out anyway. So I'm just cheating with the power tools by cutting it out, which you could totally do this. I've cut up one of my other pieces with a hacksaw. It just takes forever. So more to continue. All right. So figured out some ways to cover up and get my forge a little hotter in there to help heat up the steel. I also got a new piece of steel, and I've already straightened that one piece out to make a sword out of. It's a little long, but I'll cut it shorter. And then the other half of the steel, I cut the leaf spring straight down the middle. It took forever, but got it cut down the middle, so I've got 2 pieces. So if I mess one up, I can make another one, or I can just make 2 swords. I don't know. But yeah, I got the air turned off so you can hear, but as you can see, the coals are very hot, and I'm getting much better results now. So decided it's better to cut the steel almost to the shape I wanted it, straighten it out, and then grind it, and then finish it with the forge, not try to bang on it till I wear myself out. So we'll see how it goes. Meep, meep.